have to shut up. Like, the only way really to keep that system going is to just shut up, and just keep going. Right? Let that person leave. They can find another job, or they can just get over it, or whatever. Just make it go away. Because it really is going to be more and more distortion. Now, that just looks sociopathic to the victim. It looks like you people are monsters and demons, right? But back where anything could have been done about it, there is a breach that resonates, a conflict that resonates, and perhaps unprovoked in some sense and not in another. Because obviously someone is probably seeing something different enough that what they call provocation, the other person does not. And so there would be an argument in most violence as to what even is the nature of provocation, what is considered a reasonable provocation, and what isn't an unreasonable provocation. I'm sure has a lot to do with a lot of violence any of us have experienced. There's a fundamental argument as to who provoked whom, for instance, who started it. Well, God started it, maybe, and but let's maybe also think of what stops it, and we'll probably stumble on little bits of what started it along the way, and hopefully we won't have to see it all at once. It'll be like God. It'll just make us go blind, and then masturbating will be no fun because it'll be complete. Is that there's a violence that disturbs, as the victim is all too aware, like a molecule of authority or a system of authority. So now that, like, say, in a family, even mom and dad's authority has now been undermined. It might have been undermined a generation ago, but it's been undermined. It's saying whatever's happened, whatever we're coping with, whatever we're doing, something somewhere here has been critically undermined. And if it's going to hurt your daughter or your son or your mother or your father, it's going to hurt you. And if it doesn't hurt you, it's going to hurt people down the line. So we all got to get hurt by that a little bit. Hurt. And there's fear in there too. Because the kinds of things that people are most hurt by, in many respects, are sort of unseen because they're unsaid. So in the very space of what we can see, from trees to sun to moon to stars, someone may look at the stars and say, I see candles in a juicy box. Other people says, I see burning gases billions of miles away. Someone else would say, I see atmospheric perturbations of the Earth's celestial mechanics. And you're like, whoa, we can see many different things. And so anything that, many of the things, and most of the things that disturb us the most are things that people do not say. And in many respects, are best off not saying. We might say, okay, you can let out your breath now. You probably should just go to a tree or write a letter and burn it. Anything from sexual abuse to a police officer touching your tits to anything. I had that happen to a psychiatrist member of my family. A police officer raped her during broad daylight in her high school in the 1980s. So, maybe that's part of the reason I don't like the police. It's not that I don't like them, it's that I'm definitely sniffing out the argument that there may be ways to kind of downplay their authority and maybe turn them into like plainclothes community gardeners. Pay them all you want. Just let them have their batons and their tasers, but they have no bullets and they have no real electricity. You just pretend to shake when they do it. It's like, oh yeah, you got me, dude. You got me. And you kind of reverse the whole theatrical nature of it. Like the role playing. So the police officer plays the villain, the guy in the car with his family are the victims, the perps, and it goes from being perps to being victims because, they perped out that day. I think it's definitely good to reduce the amount of force that the police can do and all that stuff. I don't think it does anything to arm them, to give them tasers. Like, if you can't deal with human beings without using a gun or a taser, you've got mental problems, and you shouldn't be doing that job to begin with. It's that simple. Now, if you're out there and you know police work and you say, oh, that's just not fucking realistic, I think, well, that's exactly where we disagree. So that's a conflict. And then it's like, that's where the discussion begins, right? right? And if to the police it's no discussion, then it's like, well, then you've gone to war with me, haven't you? That's no discussion to that, right? The only point of you having lethal or deadly force is because you need to have it. How many needless deaths are there? And hey, you're not bad people, whatever, but shit happens when you give people guns and put them in a high stress job. I'm not here to crucify police. It's just, it doesn't seem like a good idea to give people lethal force. It may be too much to ask them. You know, I have no vested interest in, you know, hating on them, but I can do that enough too. I mean, it's an emotional thing. You hate the police because you get emotional about something you see and you hear that it's really awful, and it detracts from their authority. It touches that whole, so it probably makes the police unsafe. It makes you unsafe, and it's like, wait a second, you're supposed to make me feel more safe, and you've made me feel less. So that shakes my confidence. And as an animal, some people are better well trained. They're like, oh, come on, chances of the police ever doing that to you are really small. And you can think that, and that's nice if you can think that. It is. I mean, that's like a tranquilizer. But as an animal, as a human, emotional, intellectual being, I never ever feel safe when the police are around. I always feel safer when they leave. I realize they don't always mean harm or anything. It's just, it's not right. You know, my nose doesn't like it. It just doesn't smell right. Just, I think these guys could probably have better things to do. I think they should, tone down all the armor and the, the capacity to do lethal force part of their job, and maybe just their capacity to be a fucking human being. Because most people, most 99% of people that they will encounter need a human being. They don't need a police officer. They need a professional human being. Like, we'll pay you. We'll pay you, yeah, to deal with people we don't want to deal with, but we want you to do it humanely, as humanly as possible. And that if you can't do that, then by all means, hang up your badge. Sorry for the inconvenience. We'll give you like 7 years of severance pay. And you'll just get the best people and the people who want to stay there. Honor the risk, but then slip the disc. It's a good idea. Just reduce their capacity for lethal force, and then up the capacity to be human beings. And with no disrespect, but it's like wearing a uniform has been proven to basically take away your humanity. We know this. As soon as you give someone authority and other people are trained to obey your authority, you risk people losing their humanity, and quite frankly, 9 out of 10 people going along with it. I've been there. I've thanked a police officer for giving me a ticket for going 5 kilometers over the speed limit at 2 in the morning on an empty highway. Not swerving, not doing anything. I paid $175 so that this fat white cunt could have something to do for 15 minutes. I could have paid that to a stripper. I could have got a lap dance. Right? And he's taking it from me like a pirate. That's all it is. Now, you don't have to see it that way, go along with what they do. It's just, I like these borderlands, not for the sake of making the police's job harder or stuff. It's just, it's like, like there's a police number that's a non-emergency. It's non-violent, cynical criticism of the police. Because it is a group, and all groups can be criticized. And people who pull people over and give them speeding tickets, that where, you could make this sort of anal argument, there's no victim, and all that kind of stuff. Again, not to argue with the police, just to have my own point of view. Could be seen as a form of piracy, or sometimes, to use a softer phrase, regressive taxation. Just another way to get money off of you, in other words. Which, I guess, if given the informal ability to do so, I think a lot of police would say, yeah, pretty much. But, they have a facade to keep up. So a little bit of bullshit, and it's interesting. I mean, I feel peaceful about it. I don't like seeing them. The take away the lethal force, up the humanity, and give them 7 years severance if they don't feel like they can do that. That's the only way to. And then, again, I said most situations you need a human, and then all those other situations the police would say, well, what about this, this, and this? It's like all those people, however drugged out or volatile they may be, need a human too. See, it's time. See, they or their family have been calling out for help for a long time, and maybe they need more than one human. They need a few humans. They need some help. They don't need handcuffs. They don't need jail. They don't need you to tase them. They just need help. And do you know that there are people who get into all kinds of situations, and it's not really their fault, really, ultimately, and they've been pushed along, and what to you is like a series of bad decisions, to them may be the only decision they had. And they just got going early making certain decisions because their life got so stressful so early in life that you can't possibly fucking imagine. And so what you're seeing really is a child who's still being abused, whether they've got a face mask or robbing a bank or whatever the fuck they're doing. And they need a human. They need a few humans to help them because they need help. They need help with their situation, right? And if we can do the damage, we should help them. We shouldn't put them in jail and tase them and kill them and prosecute them and persecute them and hate on them and beat on them and make it worse for them than it has already been, probably for most of their short lives. You know? That there's a point where for some of them they've had to break over and over again. That jail maybe even starts to become the nicest place they've ever known. And as people who aren't in the way to fully understanding that, we owe something to them. You know you do. You owe them your time. You owe them some sanctity and some respect. And if you can't do anything, just feel dignity for them, respect for them. They may not look like the most respectful people. Maybe they've become murderers or thieves or brutes. Maybe they've just become violent like my own mother and alcoholics. Who knows? And the million crimes that upper middle class people do to each other for who knows what reason. And they need your respect for surviving. Just surviving. You know, like a hug and a handshake might be better than just calling them a criminal. Because really nobody's a criminal. If anyone's a criminal, my parents are criminals. My family are criminals. I want a philosophy that takes people out of jail. because in my way of life, I've seen how much jail there really is. And trust me, it's in everyone's interest to have a empty the jail philosophy, a jail emptying philosophy, because a philosophy that works, a healing philosophy, should be a jail emptying philosophy. So ask me, do you have a jail emptying philosophy in your world currently? Then maybe you might be interested in what I have to say. A jail emptying philosophy. That's a good one, Landon. A good tinker. Yeah, and I thought well of my parents today. I think that's good. Fought well and thought well. Yeah, that's it. Fought well and thought well. Incorporated. Fought well and thought well. Incorporated. I'm pretty sure that woman, this woman that came down to the beach, I think she saw me. I'm not sure. I haven't had any of my chips yet, have I? Let's have some chips. Oh, food. Right, I haven't had food. Hey, that's a nice lady. You should go for her. I should. I should totally go for her. I should do her. Do they said do the do? What about doer? Alfred North Doer. A haiku. I name my haikus. You're not supposed to, but this one's called Doer. You are standing by the river, or you stand by the river, longing waters roll, songs upon our distant lips collide, and orgasms were had. Everyone was happy in the end. Happy ending. Mm. Man, I was thinking about someone today. Mm. Oh, oh, yeah, just not. I should get some mushrooms. What beautiful stones you are. Wow. Drowsy day. A drowsy day. Drowsy day. Drowsy day. And you got pregnant? Could get an erection quickly enough. Oh, that coffee's really good. I love how you can just stay here all day. Nobody bothers you. It's fucking amazing. I'm like a couple clicks from my house. These stones are very peaceful. I see peaceful faces in them sometimes. It's amazing. Just fucking beautiful faces. It's like a mighty people trying to talk to me and say, Landon, you should smoke more marijuana. It's good for you. It makes your balls grow bigger. Not that you need that kind of thing. Because you're big bald. You're a big, bald, beautiful man. What? Are you big and bald or just big bald? I wish that woman would take her clothes off. He's now playing with her hair. Well, I stood up for a bit so she could probably see that there was someone there who was there and who was fair. And she's thinking, he's got fair hair. He's fair-haired and he's lanky. He wears tight pants in the afternoon. I want to hitch my skirt and get in the river so that there's a reason my pussy is wet. I am such a loser. My biggest fear is that she's on her phone calling the police. It's strange, like, I will have this fear for a little while just because I've been out in nature in this park and people have called the police on me because they think I'm living here. So my mom said to me, it's like, Landon, it's probably because you're too comfortable or you look too comfortable. I was like, shit. She's walking away. I have no sense of her rear end, but I imagine poo comes out of it well enough. I would woo a woman by talking about the incomparable pleasures of elimination, feces in particular, that comes out from your anus. I would tell her that I'm an astrologer and quite a competent proctologist. And I can tell you with all certainty that there are, in fact, rings around Uranus. Now that I've got your attention, I've picked up the billiard ball you were about to hit with your cue. And I'm the guy in the movie who says, hey, guys, we have more important things to do than hang out and play pool. We have to figure out how to cure all the problems in the world by amassing the cumulative and magnified power of all of our hearts and minds and hands. Minds and hearts and hands. We must have the libido of a dolphin, the vision of the eagle, and the ability to wear layers of anyone from Canada. Well, I guess I'll get going soon. There seems to be a lot of light to be had still. It's just not here. So, and the presence of a human is prohibitive. Oh, I've been here long enough, in other words. So. Let's pack it up. Let's pack it up. A how-to video for children. Now get your bags, everyone. We're going to pack it up. I'll pack it up. I'll pack it up. What do you do when you're done with your food? You pack it up. You pack it up. I smell soy sauce. What do you do when you're done with your food? You pack it up. You pack it up. What do you do when you're done with your food? You pack it up. What do you do when you're done with your food? You pack it up. It's like what you do with your truck when you leave your job. You back it up. You pack it up. Just like your Uncle Bob. You back it up. You back it up. Like your threats you make to the local gang. You back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Oh, shit. Oh, there it is. Back it up. Seeing a young lady in a dress and a cardigan, which are really actually sufficiently modest clothing, typing something on her phone is beautiful. And I respect that. I will not masturbate thinking about her when I go home, nor anywhere in the woods between here and there. If I do masturbate, it'll have to satisfy completely different parameters. It will have to be hard-won, well-earned, and vigorous. It would have to be something, in short, that would be worthy of her incredible beauty, that would leave her gasping with admiration, leave her buxom rear racking itself with orgasmic sobs of titanic proportions. Okay, I guess we'll have a little plantain. camera. So there's the circle. There's like a face in that stone where I was sitting. That's kind of cool. Yeah, we're up to. Fair wind. I have to say, nature. Oh, it's a fairly buxom youngish woman out there. I don't have perfect eyesight. Just frolicking around there a little bit. It was nice. So I'm just enjoying myself. I wasn't looking very much. I just knew that they seemed to be somewhat sensible that I was there and didn't seem to mind. That's why the youthfulness comes from, actually, in how they interacted with my energy, not because I could really see what their age was. And it was kind of nice because they were modestly dressed, and the way people dress in a way, and the way they move, tells you a bit about their mind. So nice. I just had to pull a thorn out of my finger, and I noticed that the light through the trees was particularly good, like surgical quality. So I just stopped, went, because like getting the thing out, I needed the right light. Then I saw it, got it, done. But I had to live with it for a little while. I was actually suffering while I was talking to you. I was bearing it silently. I did that all for you, so you wouldn't have to listen to me complain. To me, that's what being a mom and dad are. It's like, you don't tell your children about all your problems. Your shit has a little blood in it one day, and you come out and your son's playing with blocks. I'm like, sorry to say this to you, son, but I think your daddy's on the way out. See this? Yes, that's your daddy's. Oh no, daddy. It's got a skull and crossbones and a grave. It's like, don't be so grave. I mean, my first experience of the metaphysical world was Casper the Friendly Ghost. I've now honed my cynicism to a fine point. A wonderful ballpoint pen that never runs out of ink. And, oh, look, there's a dog. And there are a few things about Casper I would have to say. Hello. Hi. Hey. Hey, nice to meet you too. How you doing?
Okay, hold on just a sec.
Okay.
Hold on.
Human conflict. As I turned back and his dog looked at me and I said, come on, stop. I just gave a little hand signal and I said, yeah, don't approach that dog. But at the same time, his owner was getting close enough. I think it's like he was getting the idea he was supposed to stop. His owner got him. That's where it's like I moved away from the scene, but also had a little of influence left. And I was still sort of drawn to. I made eye contact with this dog, and that sort of got in the moment a little bit. Because this dog is really happy-go-lucky, so really well behaved. It says a lot about the guy. It's like, you don't expect as a dog owner to meet someone saying, hey, put a leash on your dog. and she's talking about how her dog's been attacked. So that's too bad. Not really, but it's one of those moments where I'm going to be a little sadistic and be like, I don't care. My problems are worse than yours. Just the sound of that white woman's voice. Plaintive. And they're saying it at a certain volume, which you could understand if you look at it like, oh, it's important. It's like a caution. She's being a caution sign. But also she sounds like alcoholic women I know that talk too loud. And in a way, that's probably part of the problem. You see, it's a very cool fact about nature that if you've been attacked 2 times by 2 different dogs, that maybe they're telling you something, your dog is too submissive or something's wrong. Like, it's hard for other humans for us to say, like, could people really be so fucked up that they fuck up their own dogs? There was an episode of Friends, I don't encourage TV, but it's where Joey is so bummed out. Phoebe brings over their friend's dog, and she comes back and says, I gotta take this dog back. You totally bummed him out. You made the friendliest dog in the world feel sad. And this idea that humans could be so messed up, that dogs get messed up. Dogs, well, if you have a pet, they process things with you, and they're healers, and they're all healers, and they help humans process things, but that also means that they take things on. I think if a dog is living around an alcoholic, at the same time, I'm not such a sentimentalist that I think, oh yes, dogs are mopping up all your emotional problems and getting cancer and dying, and you would scoff at that. I think somewhere in there was like a scale. It really depends on the situation. I mean, in a sense, no one gets dogs don't get cancer in the wild. They get cancer from humans. Think about that. It's not genetic. It's behavioral. But no one wants you to think about it. But you could live a lot longer. That if you get cancer, it's because someone who lives around you. I bet you solitary people don't get cancer. Maybe unless they live near transmission lines or something. I think I've found the cause of a lot of the disease in my family. And I'm getting closer to it all the time. So there's a fringe benefit to being sort of make it up as you go along forensic psychologist for your own family tree. There's so much shit in society. My mom has forced me to look at crime dramas and forensic investigations of, all kinds of Othello-like proportions and Hamlet and this guy that slinks into the interrogation room and says, hey man, you're not going to get me down. I wasn't there. I wasn't boosting that car. I was at my girlfriend's house. And 3 other people that can totally corroborate where my whereabouts is. And we don't want you fast, Eddie. We just need your help. We need to know if this man has contacted you. Why would he contact me? Look, we know you forge things. We know you make all kinds of shit. We're not taking you down for that. We just need to know. This is life or death, Jimmy. This man has killed 3 women up and down the interstate. Right? If you don't give us it, we will find something, and you will be in jail by the end of the night. All right, man. See, I can make up a script as I go along. Right? I've watched enough CSI Miami. Right? But the idea of what is it? Is investigation. Why? Because someone's life is at risk. And so a doctor does that. A doctor does what Horatio Caine does. Horatio Caine is like a doctor. He's a lesbian doctor in a way. And that's cool. I mean, I like the lesbianic aspects of the character. I mean, I grew to be fond of them in the way that you're forced to. Like, David Caruso is kind of like a woman. And it's like, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, if you're a lesbian, you would say, cool. It's like, you're talking about this person having admirable qualities. Right, exactly. And being a woman who also makes a pretty good man. Whichever way you want to look at it. Right? I mean, you never think of Horatio Caine as not being a man. He's a very strong man, considering how sensitive he is and soft. Right? It's pretty cool. Right? I could totally buy into that lesbian spectrum of human attributes. and it's Catholic or Grecian or Roman. It's heroic in a way. And you're kind of seeing asexuality or transgenderism in a very heroic sense, in the best sense. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that track. But anyway, the idea is medicine, has to be forensic. If you want to stay alive, presumably the ways that you live keep you alive. And they have some kind of a conceptual nature. Like, I work, I get money, I'm alive. Like, there's no more to it, man, than that. I'm Danny DeVito, I'm Sylvester Stallone. You do what you gotta do. A man's gotta take care of biz, you know what I'm saying? And there's reasons behind that. And where things aren't as safe as they should be, you can investigate it. You've got your great ship, you've got your great life, but your children are getting diabetes. So you go online, maybe you look it up. Diabetes. What's diabetes? Where did that come? Where was its first cases? How's it been treated? What is its, what happens? Does it change? Does it get worse? Are they recommending pharmaceutical intervention? Is there a way to approach disease as something that two things need to happen, at least two things need to be happen, one of which is common to both. One is that the disease, such as we understand it, and such as the sufferer understands it, needs to be managed or endured, right? Pain management. Okay, we've got to manage the situation we're in right now. And that's where Western medicine is actually not that bad. If all you want to do is manage it and then adjust that so that if it's going to take a long time, you're not killing yourself in the management process. And so that figures into your decision making as to whether or not you're going to smoke marijuana or shoot insulin or something, right? So, because you might get dependent on either one of those, right? Anything you put into your body, especially say, with a needle or things like that, is forcing your body to now start to expect that. Anything that's harmful, even the more harmful the drug, the more dependent you might get on it, right? So these things have to be appreciated. Not the only reason people get addicted, but it's in there. And, or just a feeling like, the idea of medicine that you have to stay on this drug, that kind of thing. People don't normally have a lot of protective or defensive machinery or apparatus in their mind for staying away from where medicine and profit and pharmaceuticals go together and have a lot of influence even over medical schools and how doctors end up behaving to you and how you feel about and trust your doctor no matter what is happening to you. That's a pretty, doctors aren't meant to know this. Medical people, they're too busy saving people's lives, and there's the other side to it, right? How many people die from properly prescribed medication, or at least medication that was prescribed by a doctor? And how many prescriptions are found to be lethal by pharmacists that are picked up? Like, oops, don't think you want to put those two together, right? That's basically what the pharmacists do. They're quality control on the doctors who have no liability for what they're handing out to you. I don't know what doctors learn in medical school, if they get 1 day on nutrition and 2 days on drugs or something. I don't know what it is. Because, basically what happens is they get told what to give people for what things, right? And there's a wide array, of course, of diagnostics and supplementary training and science and all that kind of stuff, but it's a lot of marketing too. Once you let, that kind of thing in, it's hard to keep it out. It's just like a form of regressive taxation. And statistically, your mom, your dad go in for a fucking appendectomy, and you've got some risk factors as to coming out with ALS or lupus or something, or Lyme disease. It's just, I don't know what to say. It's just the kind of stuff that sort of happens around hospitals, whether it's a nature of infection or the nature of the cure being worse than the disease. And it's just, not a lot of people have a lot of versatile defenses. I've taken myself through a bit of a study, a process. So I kind of learn things, but it's a bit of a dark nature. So I have to watch how I communicate it. But, it's how I sort of took a process I needed to go through and learned what I needed to learn through experience. How it can be a very good thing not to have a doctor. Just and do as much as you can by yourself. Because at some point it can really become about a game of verbal sparring. And someone, in some cases, who just won't say no. And probably a lot of people who don't even have the strength of mind to say no. And so when you do, doctors don't expect it. When they say bend over and you say no, I need to put this up your ass. No, you don't need to do that. Right? Not a lot of people who will say no over and over again, no matter how many times they call saying you have to do that. And it turns out they didn't have to. And you were right. And it's like in the court of law, you don't get compensation for knowing better than your doctor. It's like they don't give you a quarter of their salary for the year. So, I'd like to see how many years I can go without someone having to put me to sleep and stick something up my ass, because the last time I went to the hospital for a dislocated shoulder, I came out of the anesthesia and I had a funny feeling that something had gone on while I was on the anesthesia. No, I'm not saying like my clothes were ripped or my balls were fucked or anything, but I just think boundaries were crossed. That's all I'm going to say. It's a boring job for them sometimes, I think. Some people are a little more exciting for them than others. It's just an occupational hazard. In a lot of different demanding industries, I think people's standards for moral behavior sort of change. It's just all part of the culture that, people share one with the other, whether it's a MASH unit or a hospital or this or that. People who work in hospitals tend to draw some pretty strong lines between themselves and their clients that you might not want to let tender ears hear. Oh! Pricked myself. I've had a lot of good medical care, but the only way to really respect all the medical care that I've had, I see the world the way it is. I mean, people have their good and bad sides. And it's not always as bad as I may suggest it is, but it's not as good as you may think it is. Feelings are important. Feeling and observation. It's all right. I've had worse happen to me. Oh, my special place is sunny. It's sunny in the special place, everyone. It's like I consider the world my Institute for the Criminally Insane. Come to my special place. Come, ladies. Come one, come all. Come, my lady. Come, my lady. Be my butterfly. I like how Mike Tyson says he's from there, and the news announcers always ask him questions that would piss you off. It's like they take liberties. It's so fascinating. Whether he's a written character or whatever, it's just oh man. I like too, like how Mike Tyson in his 50s and 60s is kind of like a lesbian psychiatrist, which I think is who he's married to. And seriously, it works really well. I might come actually just say that not all, but I think some lesbians might make the best psychiatrists because at least they've found a definitive place with the world that is probably more honest than most. Because if you're not a heterosexual woman, or if you used to be, either way, then that is the final chapter. It's that you know sometimes I don't like it. I'll meet lesbians and their lack of concern for me as a man, the lack of I want a little charm, I want a little more charm, I want a little more interest in just I don't know being a woman and or being polite to me or friendly in a way that they've seemed to withdraw from. That like you think, well, just because you're a lesbian doesn't mean you can't be friendly. A little bit, that just kind of irks me, but that happens sometimes. I like anyone. But yeah, a nice lesbian psychiatrist. I mean, I'm not even saying psychiatry is a good thing to condemn someone to, but if you were of that nature, I have an auntie who's a lesbian psychiatrist, and she's probably not too bad. I think she's a nice person. She was, I mean, I won't give her name, and she doesn't know me, and we don't really talk, but she was raped when she was, you know, 14 to 16 years old in high school during the day by a police officer. I guess she told my mom. She's the kind of person I'm guessing was probably pretty matter of fact about the chances of anyone believing her and the chances of it really being a good thing to even bother talking about it. I'm guessing. I mean, there was nothing done about it. It probably affected her life, yes. And this is where, you gotta try to, as a man, on the one hand, I can be a bit accusatory, you know, when I see the negative effects. As someone who's been an innocent child, let's say, and you hear about things, your cousins, and the effects of a certain lassitude that develops in the child, in so much as there's a kind of lassitude about the sort of things that a mother ends up giving them. Um, she ended up, doing her PhD and UBC campus and bringing her youngest child, my cousin Eric, along. And I guess it was not a secret that this has not been a pleasant experience for him being left alone a lot. I'll just, you look at, I have just such a strange interest in these things. And just, his life, I'm sure, has gone on around. And I mean, the guy looks like a pedophile. I know his dad is. So she ended up marrying a sociopath. My family has a few of them, and it's like, they're nice. you know, you wouldn't think they really try to hurt anyone, but there's just something mad about them. Like, you want to believe they're as loving and nice as they are, but then you don't. And you'd probably be said to be a very cynical person, but then one day you find out that they raped your mom when she was 5. So you're like, is that vindication or just, I'll just say children have good instincts. And it doesn't mean he's the worst person in the world, but he's a victim too. You might say, like, they're both victimized by that because, he doesn't know the impact of what he's done. He's channeled, in a sense, a homicidal energy. He is more or less responsible for raping someone. And in some sense, if the law were applicable, as it may be, but will never be, accountable for that impact even into the next generation. And then as a specialist in medicine as I am, in a way, and as a human being with everything on the line, at the same time, I just want to step back. What I want to do with all that knowledge is step back. Just step back. Be like a little point in my math textbook. All these other points are there, and I just want to be safe. I'd rather be in grade 8 math class than really dealing with this. Like, I don't want to be the guy knocking on my Uncle Art's door going, "You raped my mother," with a shotgun, and being like, and then ending up on the nightly news. But you could see how someone might do that. The energy of violence, as to say, is obviously in there. You would say, oh, it's in your family, and I would say, yeah, it's homicidal rage. It's homicidal rage. It can make you want to do something to somebody, or to feel what presages that maybe in your imagination. Like, wow, you might be scared to be this angry because this is how angry someone is if, like, before they go off and hurt somebody, or you think about somebody. If someone said, "Hey, who do you want to hurt right now the most?" Oh, this person, my dad, my mom, myself, or him, my uncle. And I just want to acknowledge, like, the energy itself is, like, there. Violence put it there. Right? So violence puts it there. So if you understand people get violated, people get sick, or people get stressed, and whatever you see as the evil or contortion to the otherwise wonderful fabric of human existence, it comes with homicidal rage. That is the initial response of the body and the mind that to protect itself. And so part of it is celebrated, say, in movies, like avenging the death of your favorite character, or some western where someone avenges the death or murder of his daughter, his mother, his father, his best friend. So it's the vengeance motif. And the grievous nature of something being lost that shouldn't have been, war, homicide. And there's so much exaggerated violence, say, in the media, or we hope it's exaggerated. It's hard to tell, really. And for this very reason. And then it's like, do we want to imagine that in a more poignant personal sense? Rarely is there a family that has not been touched by violence. And that, even at its worst, we could say, if something's already happened, and you can't go back and change it, for instance. And this might be applicable to anything, not necessarily murder or rape in one's family, incest, alcoholism, and a touch of the twisting of reality. But we're not going to be too hard right now. And violence is a twisted reality, but let's just say man, in all our capacities, has to make it through time somehow. And the world isn't an easy place, and so there's a certain twisting. At its worst, yes, violence and schizophrenia go hand in hand. People get some really bad ideas about how to deal with conflicts, and they imagine those conflicts to be something that does not sustain a provision, just like your love and also your hate, for how that other person might really feel, especially if they're innocent or they don't return your love. Either way, love or hate becomes a very destructive thing, right? Well, maybe I'll go. I'll go stand in the sun for a bit. some roses. Yeah, so I acknowledge the energy of violence, you know, 'cause that's, and, you know, especially if you're being violated or domestically abused, it's like, it's territory. It's the emotional territory you're walking through. Just, that's what I get paid for, you know, it's what any victim should get paid for in some way. Just acknowledging yourself that if you have to bear that in your flesh and blood, there has to be compensations around you, along with healing, along with the restorative aspect as you move through those emotions and they move through you. It is disturbing what people can put into our blood. A look, a problem, an aggression, all these things. And as humans, we feel them. We feel everyone, some more than others. But I'm guessing, if the world is uncomfortable as I think it is, it makes its rounds. It's like Santa. He comes down every chimney, or up, whichever. He gets into every house. And I can talk about something in a strange sort of way all by myself here in the woods that could get into every house and harm the occupants. Like hatred, violence, stress. That started and then went full steam into telling me about my family in a way that I hardly reflect upon anything called family anymore in life. And lastly, my mother, the last family I really have any kind of real relationship with. And I say that like it's going to change the situation, I guess, if I acknowledge it. It's dear as me as anything, and as precious as you can imagine. It's the last real connection I have to the world around me, any family. I live it every day, and I don't know if my mom really understands the enormity of my life. And I'm glad in a way that she doesn't. I think she does in a sense. I've chosen a difficult path for the time being. But if I understand the path I've taken as well as I do, that being shit scared about my life is an acceptable part of the plan and the path. It's acceptable to be a little shit scared about where your life is going. It'd be strange if I didn't. I think I've made, as a bald eagle, that's a cool moment. I think I've made good decisions every day. I think I've made good decisions. Yeah, it's something where you might want to pour yourself a drink, or I feel like, looking at that bald eagle, I feel supported out here. I do think that the best decisions I ever made, I made while I was out in nature, and things just happen, and you can face death itself out here, or every specter of death. I think there's something about this realm. It's not always easy to say, but I can face every contagion in a way. It helps me combat death. Anything that I might have to do in life, I can feel like this is a good place to anchor your fears or your thoughts, your longings, your hopes, anything. It's where it just becomes most real. The reality of my life is here, as sure as I live and breathe. The most precious, sacred reality of my life. Sacred as my own flesh and blood, and focus, honor that. I've made decisions for a reason. I've learned that it was not a bad idea to see to it that certain people didn't make it into my future or stay my friend because they weren't. And that one of the most difficult things I've had to endure is people who aren't really my friends, but they want something from you. So they, under the pretext of being your friend, they just know that you're someone who can do things for them. And there are people who are like that, maybe to the opposite sex, I guess. These are usually women in my case. And there's little things and big things. And it's like, I don't know. It's nice to forget the reasons, the conversations, the strange, very creepy conversations. And the trying to be as peaceful as possible. Just stay in your own. Someone who wants to be your friend has to appeal to your strength, not to your weakness. If I'm living my life in strength, then someone can't appeal to me unless I'm weak. Right? I could just see myself picking up the phone and talking to someone like Anita, or Sonia, or Felicity, and all these types of women that I've known. And they prefer to see me as weak. And I think, to pursue this line of thought, why would they only be able to see me as weak? Great question. Why would anyone only be able to see someone who's weak? That, we're all weak in a way, and we're all strong. Is it so that they would feel like they had something they could do for me? And so I would help give them a purpose. The other option is that they saw me in terms of my strength, or at best my strength and my weakness, and felt respect and admiration. This person may or may not be your friend if you're lucky, which is the best way to approach a relationship with someone who you think is worth the majestic kingdom of your home and your own sacred way of being, your own magical realm. And everyone who comes to your child in time, be it the hummingbird or the mailman or anyone you invite into your home, right? Should it be anyone other than people whom you admire and respect in the way that they also admire and respect you and feel lucky to know you? And some people might sail into that kind of relationship very easily. Like children make friends, right? You can make friends for life when you're just like, whoo, just safe and good, and boom. What a great place to make a friend when you're a child, hey? And there can be people in your life when you're a child that present very problematic conditions for maintaining your trust and respect, and who don't seem to have been able to sustain at least a demonstrable admiration and respect for you and how lucky they are to know you in your strength and in your weakness. Like, hey, what could this person do? This person or child, Landon, who faced with reality, this is at him at his most honest, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is our son at a time in his life where he can't hide anything that makes him feel unsafe or upset, or just really hasn't played to his strengths in the way that it should, and hasn't paid enough attention, to adjust to Landon. And as much as Landon has done a very good job at adjusting to really everything that's been asked of him, but has restrained himself instinctually from socializing with people at school. In short, he seems to be afraid of it. Reasonably speaking, by the time I was 19 and 20 and going to the library, looking up books and trying to research myself to figure out what went on or what went wrong in my life. I was looking at books about shyness. I was like, I felt, okay, I'm extremely shy. Because whatever you do, even by 19, you just sort of like got along. You're not robbing banks or anything. You don't smoke weed. You don't smoke cigarettes, nothing. You just, basically did everything that was asked of you. just never seemed to feel safe around anywhere. Never felt comfortable. Are you supposed to feel relaxed in a high school? Like, I felt like the most unrelaxing place in the history of the world. I'm 48. Take me to a high school. It's like, I want to get out of there as quickly as possible. I can't imagine anything less relaxing than a high school or any institution with lots of people. I like university campuses. They're a little more spread out in a way, and there's no bells. For fuck's sake. Jesus. It's like you graduate from the place of bells and buzzers. Oh, I'm post-buzzer. Wow, way to go. In a sense, now the absence of the buzzer is like the presence of the buzzer. Oh, I got class in 15 minutes. But there's always that magical part of life that says that people can go in whatever direction they choose, especially if they're aware that they have extraordinary needs for personal safety, or they're smart enough to see that there isn't always the right level and kind of communication in terms of what we are or not supposed to know about the way the world really works. There's just a few levels, like, someone could say, for instance, like, it's all right if you don't really know the way the world really works. You might spend your entire life figuring it out, but you need to do these things anyway. Or this is how the world really works. And if you ever find out that I'm wrong, you can shoot me. Or something in between. Because it seems like a pretty big place. People, they get onto planes. They spend billions of dollars a year to get on planes that don't really need most of the fuel they carry and run off of air pressure and float like a bee and they sting like a butterfly. No, it's that they float like a butterfly and they sting like a bee. Well, they fly like a bee and they sting like a bee. And these planes are flying like bees and they're stinging you for it. It's like you're riding the scorpion that like eats you and you go like, he's like, well, I'm a scorpion. He's taking you across the river, but he's going to sting you anyway. Right? Nothing's free. So, and it doesn't matter because people have the money to pay. Life goes on, right? They get to fly in their jet planes. I like that there's jet planes. There aren't any airports near here, but I see planes flying overhead. And I think I've become like a Quaker. I haven't been on a plane now for... It's like the only place I'm going anywhere is going to be horse and buggy pretty soon. I don't even have a driver's license, and I don't take the bus anymore. I just... But here's the thing. This is my positive belief. I positively believe that I'm getting healthier every day. And then the challenges that I need, and when these challenges as they go on, are going to be the ones that I need. They're going to be like everything else in my life, different. It's neat. Kind of see a reverse pentagram in those sticks. Oh. A huge focus over the last years, but I think it's like it's been cumulative. It's like the grouse medicine I'm following today. There's like spirals. It helps to sort of take away the anxiety when you've been dealing with like lots of serious things, to look at like there's been patterns and there's been spirals and spirals in my life, and hopefully the last 2 years will take care of a lot of and also I'm growing, and as I've walked over the last 4 years, I've changed some of the conditions of my nature a little bit by talking, if that alone, and it's to be expected in a way that other people will notice things about me before I ever notice them. There's a reason why older women are always looking at me. It's like, wow, one part of the demographic that would, fuck. It's getting to be like I sort of feel like vomiting when I'm around them, and just they all already little twinkle in their eye. And I'm just like, it just makes me want to kick their dogs. Not when I'm with them, but maybe a little bit after. I was like, I should kick your dog. And they're not bad people. And I sort of understand them in a way. They're still girls. They're still girls. I'm close to my mom as much as I guess I can be. And in a weird sort of way, I was closer to my mom when I was very young than I am now. Because I didn't have the same brain. You get a different brain. They don't tell you that. It's like, when you're 48, you'll just have a different brain. That's all. It's like, what? Different experiences, things, challenges, man. And you're going to have a more different one than most people because, like, you're weird. You got to meet someone weird like yourself. You're nice, but you're weird. You just have to acknowledge that. You're weird. The other day, for a few days, I was walking around with my pants hiked up, with one blue wool sock and one white cotton sock. And this one old man offered me $10 when I got out of the supermarket, and I threw it back in his face. And it was like, I don't care. And I was thinking about it today, like, I didn't throw it exactly in his face, but I threw it on the ground. And I said, you know, he was a little stocky. It wasn't just the $10. It was like, he's a little stocky. And you see, because they think you're poor, and yes, maybe I gave him a reason to think that. But they approach you, and then you get to see how they approach poor people. In fact, some people think I'm a woman when they come up a distance sometimes, and I'm wearing a hat, and I get to see how they would treat me if I was a woman, a young woman. And oh my God, like, they're gazing and staring and glaring. One guy, I just walked back and said, "Can I help you?" Or he's like, "Everything okay?" He's like, "Yep." I was like, some of these people, these animals, are a little inappropriate. Like, I sometimes just move first and ask questions later because I just trust my instinct. And it's like, and then I'll think, oh yeah, okay, he thought I was a girl, and oh yeah, it's like, there are reasons sometimes. These people target certain people for reasons. They don't always know who I am or what this or that, but they're a little bit stocky. Yeah, because as an animal, I'm a good animal. I can tell, like, how someone is around me. I've got, like, pretty good 360 awareness. It's like, okay, we got Joe Bob over here looking at the fertilizer. He seems really interested in that, and or me. And then, sure enough, as I get going, he walks up and he's like, "Hello there," like he's a fucking Bible salesman, and hands me $10 and says it's my lucky day. it's like it's like, not really. I didn't really feel like this was my lucky day. I felt like this is like the last thing my day needs. Threw it on the ground and walked away. And actually, he was still sort of standing there and staring at me, and I had held my hand out like it was filthy because I'd actually grabbed the $10. So I was like, I'm gonna have to clean my hand. I was like, and these old men sometimes don't wipe their asses. So I'm just like going like this, just to emphasize the fact that I just want your energy to leave me forever. you know. And that day I had skunk medicine, and skunk medicine is boundary medicine. It's like you can sneak up the room in a way that people know, like, okay, you weren't happy with that. We understand. And I'm not just unhappy for myself. I'm unhappy to any person that might have been. And that very day I turned the corner and there was likely a homeless man, a younger man sitting on the side of the road. And I just said, "Hey, how's it going?" He said, "Okay." And I just went away. I didn't disturb him. Didn't disturb his privacy. Didn't disturb his flow. Like, I'm not, what am I going to do for him? Nothing. I'm not going to disturb him. It's like, "Hey, everything okay?" It's like, "Yep." It's like, you know, that's perfectly legitimate interaction. It's like man on man. And it's like, then I sort of thought whimsically, like, well, if I'd taken the $10, I could have given it to him at least. But it's like, yeah, no, not worth it. Not worth it. And I thought, my grandpa gave me pride. I don't want the stench of that man's judgment of me. And the white sock, I actually sort of gave it a name. It was the white because people are wearing badges and shit all the time, that look very, oh, look at me, I've got my pink little ribbon. I'm pro vagina. Me too. And a good excuse to wear something pink. And my white sock was for all the victims of domestic and violent crime and ethanol. And if anyone had asked me, or if they ever asked me if I do it again, because my foot was actually sore as well, so I needed a cotton sock on that foot, and I didn't want to wear one on this foot, and I have reasons for that. I don't want to give every fucking person, and I was thinking today, like, I'm not a fashionable person. I think fashion is fascist. You're trying to dress so that other people think you look good. And I get it. It's a language. If you want to get anywhere, you want men looking at your vaginas and women looking at your whatever the fuck, your wallets. I don't know. But I can't do that. I don't want to speak that language. I would just sometimes in my life just wear whatever there was around. And I went into this bakery, this patisserie on Salt Spring Island, very chic sort of island patisserie. And the owner came up to me and said, "Hey, what's with your outfit? I used to work in the fashion industry in California, and I've never seen anything like that." As if to say it wasn't particularly appealing. And he was an authority on the subject. And I don't really think I said anything. I was thoroughly, I guess, humiliated as much as I was supposed to be. I took it well and got my coffee and went on my way. And yeah, him and his wife were just weird. Everybody knew that. But, I thought everyone got to be weird. But apparently I didn't get to be weird. And really, I mean, it was just a vest that sort of showed my lower stomach and my shoulders. And it's like Salt Spring in summer. Like, this is what you fucking did. Like, it's like you enjoyed your life. There were people, like all kinds of weird fucking people. Everyone's weird there. Everyone's fucking weird. Except these weird. There are people that half the island don't know they're weird, and they think they're not weird. And those are the delusional ones. It's like delusional versus non-delusional. Anywhere you go, it's like, okay, you're a fucking cunt. I'm a cunt. You're a saint. I'm a saint. You were born to a mother. I was born to a mother. Life is a precious motherfucking son of a bitch, and I fucking hold on to it with my last cold, dead breath, and so would you. So, like, why the fuck would we hurt each other? We're practically brother and sister, or brother and brother, right? We're practically family, right? People talk about, like, the family of man. That is what seals the deal. Either you've got that kind of blood in your veins, or you fucking get off the island, because then we've got a problem. And it's just honesty. But fashion isn't about being, I'm sorry for the passion, but like fashion is not about honesty, you know. And the guy wasn't that fashionable, and both these people had the same problem. They really like to tell other people how to live, but only certain people. He was very proud of a guy that came in there because he was a model, and he would tell people, "Oh, he's a professional model," and he was so proud of that. And I want to take that away from the guy. Like, it was cool. He was a beautiful man that would come in there, because like he had a beautiful bakery, and this is the kind of person he wanted to serve. It was perfect. This is like, he's smart. It's like, oh, Salt Spring has all kinds of cool people. You make a nice bakery, you'll have like this awesome rich model come in from time to time when he's on the island. It's like, hello, hey, conversation like that. That's the real person that he wants in there. He doesn't need me. I'm just local entertainment and color, some freak that comes by when they're bored. And so they were bored enough that day, they decided to question my outfit in the rudest possible way, which to them isn't rude. It's just the way they talk to people. And basically, the rumor was that they pretty much found a way to insult just about everybody that lived on the island. So you weren't supposed to take it too personally. They had kind of poor boundaries. But then I was wearing a really silly looking outfit. So I thought, in this way that I've been cultured to accept, sexual assault, I just sort of took it. And thankfully, like, I'm glad I'm that kind of person, because I've thought of other retorts, and I think none of them really turn out well. And then I could never come back there again, which I'm sure you're saying, like, what, you came back to that cafe? It's like, the French woman would tell me how to speak English sometimes. That's what it would cost, along with the exorbitant price, to get a loaf of bread. I mean, these people had backwards minds. And it's funny on the one hand, but it's like, you can learn from that. Learn. Humans have some very bad habits of surviving by becoming people that need to tell other people what to do, and they don't necessarily really even know what they're talking about. But I would say to the guy now, I'd say, like, well, you're right. You're right. I don't observe fashion in the way that I'm pretty sure other people do. You got me. And if that means I need to be publicly humiliated, then I suppose I should submit to that gladly. If you want me to put him in a fight, then hey, I take umbrage at the unflattering attention which you've brought to my physical person. It is somewhat to be expected from a common sociopath, a rat-mongering cunt licker who can't tell his ass from his asshole. don't know. I don't know what that means, but it was very illustrative. I like that. Very graphic. I like graphic poetry. It's like Shelley or Keats. Like Shelley or Keats. A summer poem. Here we go. Comedians should listen to this before they go on stage. But like, this guy makes me feel better about myself. Okay. Shelley and Keats. A summer something. Ode, we'll call it. I don't know what an ode is, but it sounds good. I think that's what it makes an ode. It has to sound good. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of like something with reverence. It's like the poetic version of a psalm. It's just a nice way to say, like, this is, the joy of these things, or this thing is just coming out of me like poetry. Ode to joy. All right. I hear some fucking bees or something. It's creeping me out. I think that sound is bees. All right, that's the last thing you hear on the camera. It's like, did I get 3 bottles of Tomaki? Yes, I did. I have a 3rd bottle. Yes. Okay. If I could stop my life and say, this is what I would have done the rest of my life, is probably have a farm with my mom that she can work on. And I would just come and join her in the field and bring her tea and sit under a massive oak tree and write poetry and watch my grandchildren play. And I'd write little stories and say, hey, look, I wrote this story when I was 40 years old, and it's about this very moment. How did you do that, Granddaddy? It's because I used my heart to see into the future, and through all the fog of this world of war and pain and grief, I did that because I loved you, my grandchildren, and I love myself. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? My own brother's words could scarcely mean less to me. My own mother's words. I'd pay to hear my dad say these words. Anyone. They're honest. They're not even actually completely, if you listen to them, they're not even really completely safe. They're not the words of someone who's not going to hurt you. They're the words of a human animal, selfish and greedy, who's been touched here and there by this homicidal rage which this world puts like a syringe into you to vaccinate you from feeling totally all right ever. Exaggerating perhaps a little bit. In short, poison. Honesty. I would read words about, the instinctual part of the mind, the emotional, and they coalesce. Obviously, the autonomic. I'm not an expert. Just someone with these parts in my body. That's all. That's all I'm saying. The mythology of self. Call it what you will. A heart, an autonomic system. Okay, because doctors are going to disagree. It's all right. Okay, they're cool. I'm cool. We're okay. Got my heart. Got my mind. Got my instinct. Got the autonomic system. Got the respiratory system. I'm breathing. My spine. My nerves. I've had nerve issues, so I know that they go every which way. Like, if you've got nerves, if you've literally got nerves, that's the reason you can vomit. That's the reason you can get sweaty skin, heart palpitations. That's why you can shit your pants and piss yourself. And it's because those nerves run through your entire body. And they make you feel like, like you gotta kick a puppy before you fucking go to work. It's like, And that's, this is, I've written about it, but I say that like you should have read it by now. But don't worry, it's not published, so you don't have to worry about it. But, just saying I've done a lot of work in this area, and in the, let's say, prototypical citizen, but you might say the prototypical psychopath, or in not like a bad person, but in that way that humans can tend to be prone to somewhat sadistic behavior, but also along with enduring and sustaining sadistic behavior from other, often people very close to them. Mutual unspoken violence and the unutterable grief and eventual death that comes from it. Over cups of tea and the telly. And you can't make too much of even subtle domestic violence. Just acknowledge it. We're just, I'm not looking for tragedy. I'm looking to end the tragedy. And I have to look for it to end it because it's there. It's there in a way that isn't pointed out by CNN and Fox News. It's not pointed out by their gender studies programs. It's like you can get there to it, but it's like the two maps aren't connected. It's just like, it's like the neutral zone. And it's kind of like if you imagine the neural net of human beings or in your blood, where the poison has kind of just numbed everything. Because we should be connecting all these things in our own families, because that's where the book is written. The health grows in the family, the family, the family. So all the sickness is in the family. All the sickness in the world, all the grief in the world is in the family. And that's where you feel it. That's where you feel it the most. It's where it hurts the most. And the worst things that happen in the family. And that's the worst. It's the worst when a child loses their mother, their father in any way. It's the worst when they have to feel angry every day at their dad, let alone whatever he did or didn't do. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. No one wants that. If children could wish it away, they would. If they could wish it away, they would. They would. And it becomes like alcohol in their blood and in their brain. Right? And you wonder why your children get a little aggressive or inhibited. Like, I saw one guy, I'm very used to this because I was with a somewhat domineering father growing up. And you could see his personality, how tight his body was, how controlled. And I saw him in public once because he used to work at this store with his dad, and the same thing. He just looked so nervous and controlled. He couldn't stand straight enough. He couldn't make himself disappear enough. And yet he was still trying to do everything he thought his dad wanted him to be. And damn you if you thought anything was wrong as well. Like, he didn't want to be seen. He was doing a really good job, though, of showing me that something was wrong. His father was overdoing something. His father wasn't... It was like people who have dogs, and you can see how they're obviously abusing their dog, and they're humanizing their dog. He certainly humanized his son in certain ways, but it was having a dehumanizing effect. Something was wrong. You can't sound alarm bells. You can't, hey, sir, your son's tied, tighter than a cork up a pig's ass. It's like, shit, like, do you guys ever, like, relax? Do you ever just relax with him? Do you ever just show him, like, it's okay to be relaxed because he's safe and he's with you and you've got his back? Hey, but I don't think you have his back, sir. I don't think you have his back at all. You know why? I know exactly what it looks like. I know exactly what it feels like. And I know that you sort of really probably don't know what I'm saying. But please don't let that stop you from listening loud and clear to someone whose voice works well, whose mind works well, and says, you probably love your son loves you, but I'm seeing way too much constriction in his physical body. It tells me, even if he was the last thing he'd ever want to do to disrespect you at all, he's not feeling totally safe in some way, in shape and form in his life, either with you or because of you, or something he's trusted you with is something that's really hard for him to take. Take some time. Thank you and have a nice day. It would need to be said, and I'm not the one to say it. I'd rather take it and just put it online and just like, maybe there's some parent out there listening to this and you have a son or daughter and they're just really nervous and stuff around you, and you're just like, that's the hard thing to take, and I'm not in your shoes, and it would be a hard thing to hear, hard to hear if your spouse is afraid of you. Another thing that's easy for humans to tell their parents that they're afraid of them. You ever, as you get older, maybe you meet people and you think, whoa, and they, maybe some drunk person on the street comes like, hey, Iron, and you're like, whoa, and you're not trying to be rude or aggressive. You're just like allowing your body language to come through, like, ooh, He's like, that's shocking. Hey, you see, I'm shocked. You got me. Woo, crazy person. you know? And you have like, woo, right? But young people can experience things and they're not going to do that necessarily. They got a lot of room to just freeze. It's almost like they're designed to take things without showing you that they're uncomfortable, if they're of a mind. But that can only last so long. Like I broke out in severe acne, for instance. Severe acne. I looked like a burn victim. I was a victim. I was a victim of something. I had been burned. Because when my dad had punched me at the table, my face had burned. And now it had like lesions of pus all over it that they called acne. It was really an afterburn. Just knocked my brain, my fucking hormones. I'm surprised I didn't piss myself. Instead, I just felt hot. I felt an immense heat in my face after he hit me. Humiliation and heat. Pure humiliation. Shame. It's not connected to anyone. It's like my brain is automatically, in a sense, numbing me. There's probably a neurochemistry in my brain to what was going on. It was like nothing's feeling better, but it's sort of like morphine kind of numbing you. I could somehow numbly get up, go to the bathroom, look at my face, put some cold water on it, and just sort of probably made some eye contact with myself in the mirror and just thought, okay, let's just, keep going on, I guess. Isn't that the rule? Just keep going on. I guess like nothing's happening. Your brain manages to figure that out. Oh, right? You don't get a special mark from any of your teachers. You don't get special mention at the by the valedictorian of your class. And oh, Landon, for surviving being punched by your dad at the table, we all want to say, hey, good luck staying out of med school. um, it's you watch boxing and people take different punches different ways. But your father cold cocks you at the table when you're roughly 12 to 14 years old. And the only reason you punched him in the nose by accident or hit his nose when you were gesticulating is because you're already nervous around him. You ever, well, I have, you ever been already nervous about someone and then you made a mistake? And it's like, then you got to see the full reason you were nervous to begin with. I actually had that happen. That's part of how sexual assault happens. Right? That's how they smell their prey. It's like I've had women meet me and then turn around and you catch a little glimpse. I'm like, something dark is looking at you. It's like a movie. It's like they look around like, and usually it's something like, oh, you didn't pay enough attention to them, or something they feel like you stuffed them, snuffed them, or snubbed them in some way. And it's like you had no idea in your own mind that your opinion meant that much. Like I tend to think that I'm nothing when I'm around people, and I tend to behave as though my opinion doesn't matter. So the idea that somebody thought that they needed to be recognized by me, it was just the last thing that would ever occur to me. And even that being the case, it's like I don't think I am in the habit of being discourteous. So it's just happened. It's a it's almost nice that I kind of forget what I'm talking about sometimes. It's amazing the things that I'm used to. So if you see a lot of violence, you can possibly see a lot of that violence throughout your life. You notice it for one. Other people might just categorize it differently. Oh, that person was this, but really, there's a lot of patterns. So if somebody assaults me, I know I think back to like the first moment they made me nervous. A lot of times, say for women, it's like the first moment I met them. And I'd say the first thing I ever said, stalker, stalker, pants on fire, And sure enough, whether it's a year later or 5 years later or 7 years later, it's like there is a few women I've met, and when I meet them, I like one woman, Anita. I really thought she was a genuinely nice human being, a Dutch mother of a couple young ladies, one of whom I had already befriended through a local youth center where I was just sharing in a creative writing thing with a psychologist and some other lady. I don't know how into it, but it was fun. Even though I was like 35 years old, and they were like 18 and 17. It was like, it was just a creative atmosphere. It was just like, I ended up actually going on and writing and submitting my first and only, well, the first of two short stories for a contest and won the first prize. I was like, thanks for the encouragement. The guy, the art therapist or the psychologist, handed me this form. He said it was an entry to a thing, and he said, check it out, and I did, and I won. That was kind of cool. I got them to send me the money. I didn't show up to collect the award. I was like, I didn't know. That was the only bad part. There's no way I'm gonna show up and collect this award. No fucking way. Like, no fucking way. You couldn't have sent the police and dragged me there. There was no fucking way. The whole story that I had even sent to them was called Paradise Was. It's about getting away from society. I managed to slide it in under the door, and a few years later, I decided to write another story, a little more irreverent. And it was even more irreverent to society and didn't even place. And I decided to spend the $20 and do it. It was fun. It was fun. It gave me a reason to write another short story, and didn't even place in the second one. And it makes a better story if I say I won the only contest I ever entered, but it's not true. I did win the first one, though. But I like to think that in the way that I make up drama in my mind because I don't have a real life, that they took they had some remarks about the story that I had written, having won the prize a few years earlier. I'm sure they were curious to see what I was up to. I feel like reading parts of it right now, but maybe I'll do it when I get home. It was quite a funny story, I thought, and quite philosophical. I mean, they had praised the one I'd written because it was filled with so much philosophy. But it was about getting away. I don't think they quite, yeah. Anyway, it was interesting. Yeah. It was a great story. I actually got it all in my mind while I was walking home to this beautiful house I lived in with my mother. Yeah, I had a garden. I just sat down one day. My mom was like, she was a witness. I sat down and I wrote it in about an hour. Just had it all in my head, and it's like, filled it out. A little Dickensian here, a little this. And I had a large scale concept of a blue beam moving through different dimensions of the story. That's all I'll say. And it was just like, and literally the way the story was created was part of the plot of the story. But the people who gave me the prize didn't realize that. In a way, I forced them to give me that prize. I put a spell on them. I used my mental beam. It was a beam. It was a beam of the mind. It was beautiful. It was a beam. It was like a slice of heaven. And I had like a heavenly, had a heavenly sort of commandment that came down in the form of a story. And it had dimensions to it that touched on the somewhat hellish dimensions of human existence, but it offered our help in the way that a sound could be imagined to be derived from the greatest reasons that humans contrived to have towns and bells in those towns, and the resonant celestial tones of those bells as they moved out into the farther country areas, which is a part of the mythology of my people, the Cockney people of Bow Bells, and living within the sound of Bow Bells. And what a fantastic way that sound and the human desire and sense of place that also speaks through the Cockney people. Poor though they may be said to be, rich and actually in the essence of what could be said the very root stems of the English language itself, as it even retains through a lot of corruption because it's been made up by royalty, the fundamental tones of like the Celts, the Druids, and the sounds of heaven and earth, the true laws, really. That's why they had that sing-song, making up sounds and rhythms, or just rhyming sentences, apple pies for eyes. Keeping alive that scintillating way the brain has to be, as a poet and a writer, to investigate the nature of the words you're using because you want to tell the truth. When you're using a cursive language, sometimes you're cursing people and you think you're helping people, and if unchecked, you find that a lot of hypocrisy spreads more than anything else. It's like Christian missionaries, wherever there is love, God's love or God's industry, there's a lot of crippling, parasitical or duplicitous or serpent-tongued behavior, hypocrisy, ethanol, alcohol, denial. So and many, of course, ways that we've adjusted to that for all the great reasons we suppose that we do so. And in a very circular sense, of course, creating the conditions that require us to continue doing the same thing, because in a very mass sense, we're dependent upon seeking out no end to our disquiet, but the pandemonium which attends the very generation of it. A shot of the poison that got us the night before, day after day after day. So we get our shot of hell, a little shot of vaccination of heaven. Anyway, I'm going on. Sputtering. I don't know what I started talking about, short stories, writing. But yeah, I wrote the second story, and it was about, I never did write my poem. Anyway, it was about two men talking while in prison in a small town where the local magistrate was a sort of a ragtag bunch of self-appointed assholes. And how this lent to some pretty poignant comparisons with pretty much the local constabulary anywhere in the court and the courts and various other professions in general, along with the education system. So I imagine they didn't look in it because it was a university. And it just it came down in some sense to a play on words, and how when you understood the playfulness of words, you could understand the nature of words, and you could look through, in some sense, the blinding nature of words in the way they are often commonly employed, in a way that preys upon our trust and expectations as a child, and is meant to. It's meant to supplant our mother tongue. We give it the trust as though our mother. So our mother has to come down or degenerate into like the mother of death in order to be a mother compatible with the mother the world wants to supplant her with. And that's how you're turned into an adult. And I take umbrage at that. Okay, let's go. I feel like I'm loitering now. It's like you feel like you're loitering now. Anything? Okay. Yeah, it'd be nice to get home. Good, 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 good. Oh, Billie Jean, she's the one I need. She's my beauty queen. She's a girl who has something really juicy in between her legs. And I want to find some of my mother's pegs. Her clothesline was so beautiful to see. The many garments that we wore. Sometimes I would just stand there and look at them in the wind. And stand there under the beautiful sky. And stand there by my door. Laurie Jean is my mother. She gave birth to me and my brother. Got a piece of chocolate in one hand and my cock in the other. Actually, that's not true. My cock and the chocolate are in the same hand. Oh, I got my balls in the other. Actually, no, that's not true. Oh, I'm paranoid today. I think this. I'm still paranoid from like a year ago. I love it. Hold on, I changed some things in my life. I have to change. Oop. I don't know who I am today. I think, actually, in many respects, ouch, I hurt myself on you on the way in. That's twice now. Ouch. Okay, well, thank you, because a poke from you is like a kiss from anyone else. Ouch. It's only just begun to do. I don't know if it's fair to say my mom ever listened to music, because I didn't get the feeling she was listening, but we did have music around sometimes. We had this radio in the kitchen built into the wall. I like turning it on sometimes. And it was like, I was never cool, so it was never like, oh, I want to find some cool music. I just like playing with the dial, seeing if I can pick up space aliens or something. You know, it's like AM, FM, you know, just a different tonality and of the static, depending on AM or sounds it made, or essentially looking at what it was not intended for. Just all the in-between areas. I guess kind of like my mind, all the static, all the in-between, and then sometimes like Christmas Eve, I might have a clock radio and I might turn into like a station or something and listen to some music. You know, I remember just one particular Christmas in the basement in my room, and the song was, "We built this city," dun, dun, my clock radio, which never seemed like a cool way to listen to rock music. My clock radio, nothing seemed cool in my house. It was the church of uncool. So you could have piped any music into there, AC/DC, anything, and it wouldn't have been cool. Okay, you know, that's, you know, and I'm safe. I'm safe saying that, because I think that is a very true thing to say. It was like, I still had my innocence in a way. You would say. Because to be cool, you have to lose your innocence, I think, essentially, because there's nothing cool about just being a child, right? It's like, you're not cool. You know, but once you learn a few dance moves, once I see children on YouTube, not that I look for this, but you see children and their dad dancing to some song, you know, because it's like, you know, encouraging fathers and daughters to, I guess, be sluts together, or dance and sing. And I'm not into that. Children emulating pop music. And it's like, they lose their innocence. These people are all sex priests. Like, the music is about losing your inhibitions. And so dancing, wonderful as it is, and so it's about losing your inhibitions. I think that's something that children should do. Like, the only time I've danced is running out on nature on a beautiful day. Running around in nature. You know, just like, woo, you know, like, you know, that's losing some. You can, like a Jane Austen character, you can strain your ankle, and, you know, you have to be careful, but it's like, I wouldn't take my children to here some days, because it's like, you run around and it's so easy to fall. You know they're going to fall. Boom, boom, something. Until they're smart enough not to hurt themselves. Like, you want a child who's in a, curious mode, not in a carefree mode. You know, if you ever, as a child, ever got into nettles and you're like, hey, what's this feeling? It's like, imagine that one day when you didn't know there was such a thing as nettles. I can kind of reflect on that day. I think I know when that day was. And I always respected nettles after that. You know, I think they're an incredible plant. They're really beautiful, and they really love us. I do. I think that they touched, I always felt like that was kind of I got their medicine. You know, I needed their protection in life. See, that fly comes along. It's true. It's a true thing that I just said. You know, and to protect against, you know, the powers of deception, you know, to remind me what was real was the nettles and the burning sensation in my skin. They're really good for you, but they don't like you ignoring them. This is a part of nature that says, this is a part of your brain you can't ignore. And if you do, your brain needs a little pain juice. And it hurts. It's almost like being electrocuted a little bit, you know, and it's strange. And so when I get hit or thorned or in nature, I always try, in the name of the spirit of the nettles, with the sun and the sunburn and all those little accidental things, try to, take it with as a, maybe some kind of wisdom. I love all the sounds of my feet, sound effects for a film not to be produced. I would be really daunted in making a film, and now at age 48, 21, sorry, did I say 20 in 2021? I was going to say and 21 years of age. The century is 21 years old. Because I'm actually baffled at, and overwhelmed and intimidated by the quality of film that people produce on YouTube. It's just like, I don't even bother. It's like trying to teach me tennis now. It's just like, no, or chess. I play it on my mom's phone and I always lose. Unless I'm on the beginner level, I don't have the patience. Because the thing is trying to teach you in a way. And I refuse to learn. I learn some things, but I'm a very slow learner. Like, some people would play on that a day and they become chess masters. To me, oops, I almost tripped. I got some grass that I almost tripped on. Yeah, that's how easy it is. On the little bridge, I made it through get my mind focused. It was weird because it throws your body and your mind off, right? So it's like, you've basically klutzed out. So I've klutzed out, now it's a matter of the thing is, I never went into alarm. I don't know why. It could be all the pot I smoke. If I'd gotten a little more alarmed, I might have hurt myself. But I shouldn't have let it happen to begin with. Well, I guess I could have visited the squirrels too late. Give them the day off. Oh, I'll have all my peanut bread to myself while sitting on the bench in the park, which is where I'm going to stick myself. It's a day off. It's kind of nice just this time of year. I think the man I call Iron Face is gone. I'm not sure if he's left this world or what, but he was mean to me. He's left the scene, the beach scene. Ooh, there's a snake. Reminds me of Iron Face. I called him Iron Face, or I called him unflattering names. Not to their Iron Face, of course. He was just a cruel man. And time had made him cruel. And he came from a time where I think they were cruel to men like me who had long hair. And maybe it was people who had long hair made them cruel, I don't know. But you're down to be cruel to me. You're down to be cruel to me. And once I feel that I didn't grow up with this, I guess. When someone, man or woman, just takes such disgust in my existence while I'm in some public place that they can't hide it, they can't restrain themselves. That's a problem for me. That's a problem, period. That's a breach of the peace, right? That could be seen as assault in and of itself, right? I had a dad, for instance, so I'll bring it back to my family so this is I'm not a total Puritan. There are times and there were circumstances where the look in my dad's eyes or the look in my brother's eyes was very close to turning into or did physical violence. So the look in someone's face, their energy, there are cases on the books in the United States of people just in their tone of voice towards a child can be seen as doing something very seriously against the law, something felonious in what you might be doing to that child's health and life for the rest of their lives. In this case, I don't want to say, I don't repeat it, happens enough to these people. But So the ears, for instance, are, and the eyes are sexual organs, right? Life comes into us in all kinds of ways, and we don't want it shoved into us. You yell at your child, you're shoving something into them, right? You want to bypass whatever part of them might be complaining and objecting to you and give them something they can't object to that gets them to stop doing whatever they're doing, right? You're not asking them, you're telling them, you're shoving something into them. Now, if a train is coming, you want to put the fear of fucking old banshee-wailed Allah into them, and they'll be getting good and quick, and knowing when they hear the sound of their mother's voice, you just fucking do whatever the fuck she says immediately. And a mother and father may have occasion to want to have that control over you. And we may all have a different way of achieving that level of control over our children, because, but, then it's good to yell their name, and they know, like, oh, that's the tone in mom's voice that tells me that shit is really wrong right now. Sorry, I've got to go, Mr. Train. I was interested in examining your oncoming lights and how beautiful they are. Oh, look, I see Led Zeppelin. And the Beatles. Hey, we're in heaven. What is all that stuff I see strewn over the subway station? And the angel comes and goes, that's enough, child. Come with me now. The other side is full of many wonderful things. Hell, you were just here. You know. Yes, there's my friend Peter from the Celestial Zoo. Let's go ride dragons again. Wait, what about my mommy? Oh, she'll be okay. After years of Ativan and alcohol addiction, she'll meet a guy named Ned who takes her for everything she is. Wait, can I stick around and help out? You sure can, but it'll be a real bummer. Oh, and you look both ways. Oh, Led Zeppelin is playing softly in the background. Let's see. Wow, that's a tough one. Yeah, your mother who loved you, who gave you life, and the heavenly realm that you stole away to because she left you on the tracks by yourself. It's a tough decision for anyone. But now it's heaven, and the wonderful sports of heaven, or the stupid cunt who left you in front of her. And you're like, Angel Gabrielle, you're not supposed to talk that way. Well, I'm pro-heaven for spirits that get sent here before the age of 5. He's just seen a lot over the years, and even angels get a little bitter. No, okay. Look, I'll tell you what. Let's bypass all of this cultural bullshit and just have a little sit down with your mother. Let her know you're okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's see. I'll find a way for her to meet someone who'll teach her automatic writing. The problem, though, according to the rules of karma, is he's going to have to be able to take her for all her money and livelihood because she's gotten onto a bad path. And as your child and you love her, you want her to be happy. That's right. Let's see here. Okay. Ned has taken her for everything, but she's doing some automatic writing, and you're in luck. She has a thought in her mind about perhaps talking to her child, whom she lost in an awful subway accident, where it wasn't really her fault, and she feels really bad about it. Can you somehow get through the fog of grief and guilt, and just let me know you're okay? Sure. Mom, this is the demon. Wait, no, that's not funny. I'm alive, Mom. I'm alive. And you're talking to your dead baby. What happened to you, Mom? What happened to all your money and your beauty? The death of a child is very hard. My family went through that. I don't know. I think sometimes I thought I connected to her spirit once. Chickens. Strange, I would see those. Noreen grew up on a farm and probably had chickens. I think that my grandfather is with her. I didn't know her. It just seems like a nice thing. You know, I know, rabbit. A rabbit. Yeah. But I think, that opens up, it's a very destructive thing that opens up a portal between heaven and a 3-year-old child. And we are, already, how do we say, fully here. But the world doesn't really recognize it. Deer. There's a lot of sun. One of my favorite things growing up was grass. It was grass. My uncles. Now, given the perspective of years, which, anything could be an advantage, and knowing what I know about my auntie's death, but also maybe even her continuing existence in heaven, in some sense, it's a nice thought. And then my mom and her life. I mentioned talking to her sister once, just briefly, and it wasn't like a full-on conversation. It's just a place I go, and then a place I can go because I walk along these places. And the eagles come and stuff, and you can have a feeling like, opening to something that isn't meant to be difficult. On bikes on vacation, it's a nice feeling. There's this seeing cyclists enjoying themselves like it's meant to be easy. Oh. God damn. Those bars. My mind sometimes doesn't like physical objects, just a little bit. It doesn't happen a lot, but more often now when I'm really sensitive. That's why sometimes I just need to be outside or like that. They're very sensitive and open. Vulnerable, really. And nerves. So, heaven. And I just had a sense of Noreen, my grandfather. A lot of times people pay psychics, but the psychics are just making shit up. You might as well make up your own relationship, but it was a matter of heart, as it should be. The eagles were there. And just a moment of it. Why does the mind drift to anything? Why does my mind drift to a child whom I never knew? Maybe because that child, if only conceptually, is a part of my family. And I concern myself with my entire family. And my mom taught me that because I'm concerned with her. And I've had to be very concerned with her. And in a sense, I'm no better than anyone. I was forced to be empathetic with many brutal threats to my person. And I think that, in a sense, Noreen's passing was not accidental. it was an effect of a stressful home where incest was become a prevalent problem. So that doesn't just pop out of nowhere. So by the time you got your brother's penis in your vagina, I think, something's really wrong. Brother, maybe he grows and recognizes that was pretty stupid. He feels real bad about it, and he loves his sister so much. But the impact may be lost on even his mind as a biology high school student. You'd be surprised what all kinds of people just don't know. And when you know that your uncle touched your sister's vaginas, his sister's vaginas, and the like, and did whatever he wanted to do, I guess, at 16, because he didn't have any other girls available, and maybe you should think yourself lucky that he didn't have any other girls available, and how you've just got to kind of, as a thinking person, wonder about the safety of that little girl, even before she died in that freak tractor accident, and how accidents tend to find victims, and how when we're criminalized at all, how we usually serve the punishment as well, and how the violence of the world does somehow something have to do with how the royalty have gotten us to pay for their destruction and incorporated their destruction into our destruction. In as much as you have to sort of violate certain laws in order to rule the world a certain way. Anyone smart enough, I guess, my principle, to rule the world as intelligently as I think it is ruled, through linguistics and the creation of religions and the maintaining of cultural control. In a way, I kind of sensed when I was 2 or 3 years old, royal control goes right into the Union Jack colored ice cream that you're sucking on a beautiful spring day, and the colors of the flag and the sense of dominion over the even heavenly proportions of a child's mind, and how everything is taken to be a part of something, and a child's mind takes this flag and these colors as something. Whether we retain an interest in knowing exactly what that is, we do get all of the benefit, essentially. We are the subject for a reason. We are subjects. We are the subject. We are the object. We are the one who is to be ruled beyond your knowledge. Because, to hold knowledge, even a pack of lives over someone, is to hold an incredible advantage over them. It really is. And what do you know? You may not think this when you look around at the beautiful people around you, but some people made it a point to do that and do it well. And they do it well. And the order of your life and the checks and the checking accounts, and the schools and the policies and all the policy keepers and everything holds, and your TV and your publishing and everything is held by a certain dominion, from the routing numbers on the check to the vaguely uneasy motifs of your music and theater and song. The strangely mortifying nature of human existence. And it can't be stopped by just completely understanding one generation. But sometimes that's bound to be a bit horrifying when we look at what is passing from generation to generation. And not through something so esoteric as genetics, but through sheer behavioral changes and demands, which the neocortex will just justify no matter what.
And then I thought, if I needed it, I could.
Someone's going somewhere for dinner. People always joyful about going for dinner. I'm so glad I'm through the people. That's why I stopped talking. It's stressful. People start looking and I start cooking with the wild thing. And people start looking and I start cooking and I start thinking of the wild thing. If people could see me in my bathroom when I'm talking to myself, that would be the most honest sad. It's not quite as honest as when I'm with you and I glide inside of you like a paper airplane through the vast vacuums of an autumn dream. And you don't even know that I've entered you like a ghost into an abandoned house. I don't know what that means. That's just creepy. Anyway, like a ghost, I enter you like a cold wind into your bones. I raped you over 1,000 years. You whore. Who am I? Who are you? You are God, Alex, and his victim is the human race. Yes, you win double jeopardy. Ding, 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 ding. After these commercials, we'll learn some more about our contestants. Good job, Ian. That was an easy question, but still, someone had to do it. It's the people that benefit from hearing the truth now and then and droning on about Nestle cup coffee and things like anusol, interspersed with pictures, yes, indeed, of a wonderful pink little asshole. Ian, I know I've taken up a lot of our time here, but when we get back, I want to ask you about some of your influences. You know, your... Mr. Trebek, are you alright? Oh, it's just... I get ravenous when I think about what is possible. With God, all things are possible, isn't it? I suppose so. Yes, that's what I like about you. You have an endearing kind of conceited independence. Yes. Welcome back to Double Jeopardy. Contestant Ian has just answered what I consider a very difficult question, which I'm sure no one even now remembers the answer to, and as well it should be. Moving on to other things, we have a new set of categories. One is called Things That Have the Word Schwingt in them. Schwingt. Okay, schwingt. Everyone understand that now? Okay, good. The next category is Purple on Purpose. These are things that people did on purpose that involved purple things. This astronaut had too much what that made his tongue purple, which he did on purpose for what reason? He did it to hide the taste of cum from the Russian astronaut. Purple tang. Grape. Judges? Yes, that is acceptable. Very acceptable indeed. Good job, Ian. You get all the hard questions, don't you? You're like a stool softener, really. Trust me, that's a compliment. Coming from me. And going into you. And softening your poop. And the next category is sexual things about Winnie the Pooh. Like the fact that he had a hole in the back of his shorts at all times. You know, he was going into pots and trees. What was going into him? Other than honey. Other than honey. The Winnie the Pooh story. Honey is usually an endearing thing. Hey, honey. Hey, honey. I love you, honey. Rhymes with money. There were a few bears. In English sense, there was Paddington Bear, and he was like this bear that lived with his family. And was he a dog? I can't remember. Paddington Bear. Anyway, he seemed like sort of a very advanced bear. You know? Ouch. Very advanced bear indeed. Paddington Bear. Like every British character, he was a bit stiff. But I think he liked his marmalade. Oh. Paddington Bear. Paddington Bear. Let's see. Got juice. Got food. It's not too late. There's just some hippies walking back there. I think I could maybe make it to some of the coast, or I could go home early and rest up from my exertions. I did have a long night. I think I've had enough. My memoirs would be called Overexposed. Toast, beans on toast, hash browns. Ooh, yes. I do have to take a hot bath, though. Well, another day is done. Signature, a bedroom with mirrors on the ceiling, and she'll do like a little belly dance and then slowly slide onto the nuptial penis, begin to rise. Her nightgown will fall, her beautiful breasts with her pink nipples will protrude into my world and dazzle me like a baby is dazzled with the frolicking reindeer in their mobile above their crib. And I'll slowly think, Mama. Because that's all I knew. All I knew was my mama. Oh, my goodness. To think, my mama, my mommy. Mommy. And there she is, Mommy. Ah, yes. Is it odd that I find that so precious? Yet no number of years are long enough or precious enough, it seems, to preserve them. They're just bookstores, bubblegum, playing cards, school days, distant thunder as everyone goes into the labor-centric diasphoria of youth from age. I think I was quite fine going to my grandparents and playing on the organ a little bit. maybe listening to my grandfather give us Christian trivia questions. And I think it was sort of a feat of almost like earning your master's that my grandpa had read the Bible, I was told, from beginning to end, perhaps more than once. And I tried, I think I got to Deuteronomy. It was quite demoralizing. I don't know how anyone can really do that. So I just sort of more like got interested in fragments as time went on. But, I get the gist of it, It's not hard to get the gist of Deuteronomy. It's like, yeah, okay, I get the idea, God. It's a lot of rules. If you come into God's house, he's like, there's a lot of rules. And after days and days of rules and all kinds of calamities, if you don't follow every fucking one of them, he's like, but this is the sum of everything. Love your neighbor as yourself. And it's like, if your neighbor gets the idea that that's the rule, and he's drunk, and his idea of love is fucking your children, and then it's like, So it's a really nice sounding phrase, but really it's a call to anarchy. Because you can only love someone as well as you understand love to be. Love can be anything. It's like, keep yourself safe and understand that others want to be safe too. When people start threatening the safety of each other, or they think they are, we have to sit down and have a serious conversation. It's weird that nothing in the Bible really prevented anything difficult in my life from happening. There was no laws against mothers coming home drunk and picking fights with the father they've already given a physical disability for having been born a male and having a fairly dominant mother in a difficult home and marrying a Christian girl who had been raped into being whatever she needed to be, and you would never be what she needed you to be, and she could do whatever she wanted and you couldn't. And if you didn't know that was tough. The Christian ethic boiled down through incest isn't too complicated, but it is very effective, And I could write any number of books. I'll never have the power my mom has when she's angry or drunk. And it's just that simple. I will never win a street fight. I'll just keep writing. I won't win. I'm used to losing. But I'll try learning. And I think if I'm learning, eventually the environment, if I'm truly learning, my environment should get safer all the time. I should come home, safety. I should go to bed, safety. I should get up, safety. Safety shall be the measurement of my richness and health. Safety over here, safety over there. Safety over there, and safety in there. Safety in my underpants, safety in the day, safety in the night. Victims of violent crime just want safety. They don't care so much for the careers or the families. Not always. Although plenty of people have families who are the victims of violent crime. And I tell you, it's noble, but people basically just rise to the occasion. Nothing like having to take care of your children to force you to, work and do all those kinds of things. And I just don't think that should be your motivation for having children, or it should be your motivation for working. You have to. A lot of time somebody loves something there. Looks like I'm picking that up. Done that before. Oh, I'm tired. I didn't really have a lot of occasion to, bathe in the sun today or anything. Just get through the day. Purposely, in a good example, purpose and instinct. I purposely and instinctually get my jacket on in the heat, even though I'm kind of sweaty and hot, because even just taking my shirt off, as I might as well on another day, I didn't need to give my body more of a reason to be cold. I feel like I've got to just kind of extra heat today. Nice hot bath. Relax. Oh. I don't mind. I'm going to say it's not a bad problem. Getting home and not necessarily having enough to do for the evening. I've done well. I'm proud of myself. I mean, it takes a lot to get into. I'm in a pretty good frame of mind. Just say hi to Mom. Everything's okay, and then I don't want to catch her too drunk. Let's see how things are. Oh.
Hi.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Good.
Good. You sound good.
Yeah. You have a good day?
Yeah, pretty good. I didn't do anything too much. It's good not to do that. It's like anything you do. It's nice to just let myself not work as hard or walk as far and listen to that.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
sat by.
must have been pleasant. The weather's been good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I was lucky. It worked out nicely. It's one of the more pleasant days for sure so far this year.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, no, it worked out really well. I hope we get a few of those.
Well,
Yeah.
the next 2 days are supposed to be hot.
Oh,
3
good.
days, 4 days,
Well, I'll be
whatever.
doing the same thing then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a chef's sampler, so it had like some salmon, some tuna, and simulated crab, so that was really good.
Oh.
Yeah, and I find that the salmon especially, but even the tuna, it's nice to eat it without the wasabi, and just the taste is actually not that bad. And the wasabi isn't even real wasabi, which apparently is very expensive. So it's just horseradish, so it's not necessarily really necessary, I think. But anyway. Because I was told it was like to kill bacteria from the fish, but I like it, but I also like I gotta try eating less of it because I want to taste the fish.
Yeah.
But I did have something neat happen. I was sitting and a butterfly came and just sort of sat down right beside me,
Oh, really?
right beside my hand on the rock, and then took off after a few seconds. So it was intersposed through I do a lot of talking on camera, and it was neat how the butterfly came and left, I guess, when they lost interest. and it's neat. I've been really enjoying them. I guess they do spend a lot of time along the Englishman River, so that's well, at least right now. So it's a good place to see butterflies. And something else I saw you don't usually see. I don't know, whatever, sunlight maybe. And
A few years ago, you wouldn't see butterflies. I don't know what happened, but
I think they just go to different places. I mean, they're not like, and they don't have like millions and millions of population. I think they just go where they go. Like a lot of animals, they roam and just have different places they go, like fish, and they don't always run as strong here. I'm guessing, but I'm just glad they're around. I don't always want to assume there's something wrong. I just think, I think you may be right. I'm not sure, but I go to different places, but I'm not sure I'm not kept track how many I see every year. But if I kept going to
there's been more recently. I know that. So.
Okay, yeah, you might be right. I mean, yeah, how many butterflies are there? They travel very far. And, I think you get different kinds. Like you get the little blue ones, and then there's
Yeah,
the
there's some really pretty ones.
monarchs. Yeah. Oh, so how was your day then?
Good. I didn't really do anything today.
Well, that's good.
I was just a little bit tired, so
Yeah.
I took a day off. I just got my
Good.
hair done, and
Oh, good.
that was nice. And
That
yeah.
takes half an hour.
That was about half an hour, yeah.
Oh, neat. Half an hour.
But he slept through everything.
Oh yeah. He was quite content, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's good to see. He seems happy sleeping. Seems healthy.
Well, he
It looks
sleeps all the
healthy.
time, except at night he likes to go for walks, right?
That'll serve him. That'll serve him in the
Well,
summer, won't it? Because he'll prefer to go out at night in the summer.
Well, yeah, I get that.
That'll be perfect. All your hard work for something there. Well, you've even been saying that it's warmer when you get up in the early hours.
It's nice. It's actually the best time to be there, and I enjoy the walk. Make no mistake
Yeah.
about that. I
Oh, good.
enjoy it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. You can enjoy it. Yeah, that's neat. That's good. Yeah, it's you've done that all winter. My goodness.
Well, it's not so much fun in the winter. It's cold and wet and just damp, right? That's hard. But now it's nice. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, I did see some ducklings. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, merganser with a bunch of ducklings, and they don't. In all fairness to and I've observed this year after year, merganser. There's always a few merganser, but most of them seem to get preyed upon. You'll see a bunch of them. You'll see a big long line of them, and the lines get smaller and smaller until you see just one. And so, if one or two get through, I guess that's what happens. I'm guessing the eagles see them as snack food or something. I don't like it, but it happens. You see it, you see a bunch of them, so you kind of well, the reason I say that is because you're trying not to get too attached. Because the first time I was like, hey, look, I hope your family's okay. And seems like there's one or two missing. Oh, well, I'm sure it'll be okay. And then one day you see they've got one or two.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, shit. But they take it in stride. Quack, quack. And you see the little ones, they're all trying to keep up. But they want to just stop. And what happens is the mother just keeps them moving, I think, so that they stand the best chance of staying alive.
Yeah.
Just sitting around and having fun is just they're just snack food. So she keeps them moving and keeps them able to keep moving or fly or be able to kind of be a moving target at any moment. So that's kind of what they're doing. And you'll see the little ones keep straggling and then they'll catch up and then they'll play and then they straggle and they come catch up. And it's fun to watch. It's not nice to think about stuff, but
No, I know.
But birds especially, I don't think they really I think it's over very quickly. Larger game and stuff, it could be a bit more of a struggle, but
yeah.
But anyway, it was good to see, and I do like the merganser. I finally figured out, by the way, I have my favorite bird by the river, and I didn't know what they were called, and I finally figured out what they're called. They're called the kingfisher, which you've probably heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't put the name with the bird. I didn't know, and now I know what they're called. Yeah, and they're really. I gotta say, they're my favorite bird, and it's neat that I didn't know their name, but I think they're very deserving of it. They have whoever named them, I think, did a good job. Yeah, and they come up and down these rivers, you see them coming up, both Qualicum and Parksville, you see them coming up and down the river all the time. You'll hardly spend an hour there and not see one or two. So you tend to get fond of birds that you see all the time.
Yeah.
And because they're always nice to see. So anyway, kingfisher. I'm going to take a chance and try some more hash browns and beans tonight. I got home a bit earlier, and that was good.
Yes, well, better to eat it now than...
I think I got a bit of a chill yesterday or something. I think it just messed up my system. That happens sometimes. I noticed that today. I was a bit cold. I think it's amazing how my body will just pick up a chill. Even though I had a hot bath, I guess I didn't have a hot enough bath. Oh, happens. I'm very... Yeah. Anyway, yes?
I'm ready to go, and I've just got my dinner
Oh, good.
starting, so I think I'll have some of that, and that's it. Now I guess Buddy wants to go out again.
All right. Well, I'll probably see you then.
Yeah. You bet.
Okay, all right.
Okay, bye.
Oh, God. All right. Wow, she sounds really good. That's good. Oh. That's the happiest thing in the world. Mom and dog are happy. Yeah, I definitely got a chill yesterday. Take care of that. Take care of that in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I have a ritual. Take off my clothes, turn on the heat. Well, turn on the heat. I did that already. So it gets the whole place hot. I got my bed, my heating blanket on. And I'm saying all this because I'm bored as fuck. And I'm hoping someone out there one day is so bored that listening to this is a break from the fucking police brutality videos and conspiracy videos and lawyers who can help you get unbutt fucked or something. And people talking about gender or celebrities or movies or things that just aren't quite as much as you thought they would be. Because I remember seeing movie posters. We had movie posters when I was a child, and you could rent VHS videos and movie posters. And when you have them in your room, you have a chance to really look at them. And really, for the first time in your life, you're seeing something that was, say, an advertisement or a very strong, very provocative appeal to a very scintillating, dramatic presentation, the movie, is now like a piece of art, and how the characters start to look differently over time. They're frozen in one particular facial expression, for instance. So, you can't really have a full relationship with them. They're like someone who's had like plastic surgery gone really wrong. They're always happy. They're always scared. They're always trapped in some sort of saga. And since their whole existence is to be in this movie, they'll trap for eternity in this world where this saga is unfolded. I'm just sort of saying, like, so very provocative, very, I'm interiorizing these things, whether they are art or culture, whatever they are. It's about as close to culture as I'm probably going to get. That the movie posters you can see had such a religious aura in a way, such a provocative nature. It's sort of strange in the sense that you could sense, or I did as a child, that religion didn't have more control of movies. Because it was like they dominated this market in the most graphically provocative, psychologically provocative ways. And what's more religious or psychological than movies, really? And in a sense now I would say, oh, absolutely, all these industries are of similar purpose. They just have different ways of going about it. Keep you occupied in every sense. But, the movie poster. Yeah. And compare that to, say, going out for dinner at a restaurant where, you don't see movie posters necessarily. So different signaling systems. So, I like to supposed to put it easy a little bit. I'm gonna make some food. We're gonna get that bath going.